afternoon, everyone. I am Purvi Panjwani on behalf of Consulting and Analytics Club, IIT Guwahati, and I welcome you all to the second session of Krack the Case. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from Advaith Krishna, a dynamic leader in consulting and product strategy space. As the former consulting head at Consulting and Analytics Club, he played a pivotal role in driving strategic initiatives and mentoring budding consultants. As the co-founder of HighonProduct, Advaith brought his deep understanding of product dynamics into the spotlight. Currently, he is making waves as a senior product analyst at media.net, where his expertise in data-driven decision making is shaping the future of digital advertising. His session promises to provide valuable insights and offer practical tips to crack even the most complex cases. Whether you are aspiring to be a consultant or a product leader, this is a rare opportunity to learn from someone who has mastered both the worlds.
Hey, thanks, Provin. Thanks for that nice introduction. Let's start. I think we have close to 75 minutes, right? So we'll try to make use of the time as best as possible. You should be able to see my screen, right?
Yes, it's visible.
Cool. So I'll just give you an overview of what we'll cover in this session first. So we'll start in general as the session is about. We'll give a brief overview of product and business strategy rules. I'll probably like speak a lot of uh, things about how the industry looks currently, how the roles have changed over time, and post that we'll get back to what is the meat of the session, that is case interviews, how to structure your case interviews using frameworks that is already there and creating your own frameworks. And finally, in the last 30 minutes or so, we'll do a live case interview. So if there are volunteers, just please be ready. And yep, let's start with a brief overview of what is the difference between product and business. And before we start, I just want the session to be more like a discussion rather than like I'm just like giving you a whole lecture. I just don't want that. So I would really appreciate if you guys have the time to speak. So I've kept my slides empty. We'll keep on adding things, and we'll make this time valuable for everyone. So in general, there is a bit of difference between product roles versus consulting slash business strategy roles. But one thing that is common with both is data. So both roles require a deep understanding of data, how data works. But in general, we should also think about how data has evolved in the last couple of decades, right? So if you think of it, say in the early 2000s, right? Like we used to use data for transactional value. We used to use in e-commerce. We used for real-time predictions, right? Then it shifted from transactional knowledge slash analytics to business intelligence. Now then it has shifted to machine learning, and now we use it for machine intelligence. So we are at the stage where we use everything, data for AI, and I think the future is going to be that of consciousness. So mostly you will be working closely with data and all stages, right? But in general, why do you think data is at the heartbeat of all these product and business roles? If anyone has anything to add, we'll start with that. Then I'll also add my points, and we'll move to the next slide. Anyone wants to add something? या फिर मैं ही करूं? अरे यार.
Hello.
Yep.
So basically, we need data because we need backing for whatever you're saying. Like whenever we decide to do something, like basically new feature, if we're introducing something, then we need data backing for that so that we can take it forward with the stakeholders.
Cool. Purvi, can you just make me a presenter? I think someone is trying to remove, I think, properly.
Yeah, I'll check system.
Yeah. Just check with Pranav or someone. Cool. Yes, so someone was saying something, right?
Yeah, so as I was saying, like whenever we present something to like our key stakeholders, we need to when whatever saying or we are saying, we need data backing for that. So that's
Correct.
why they should have a basic outlook of how the things will look when we introduce the feature or anything of that sort. So that's why we need data in product or business.
Got it. So the main data, of course, is to drive decisions, right? And it's only possible with data, to see what works and what doesn't. The second thing I'd want to add here is we need data to spot trends, right? So historically, we have been using data to find trends, right? Even if you're working with finance or business, even product rules, we want to find trends and utilize that to the best extent possible. So that becomes the second point. So just keep on adding here. So yep, guides decisions. Then probably yep, trends. You also need customer insight, right? Both product and business roles work for the customer. So you also need to look at how customers, you work with your business or product. So mostly customer insights becomes the third call. Suppose that data means efficiency in general, right? Rather than you making assumptions, it's always better to back that with data. So the fourth reason could be efficiency in general, and finding trends, insights, and data-driven decisions all lead to opportunities, right? That means more opportunities for you to work with. So that is why data is being at the core of business and product roles, and this is going to get bigger only, right? So I'm not so sure if you guys have that notion key, if you're going to go to a non-tech role, you will not be working with data. But the truth is that you are going to work with data a lot, and every decision that you're going to make is to be guided by data. Now there are concerns as to where, how, to what extent you will use data and all. But let's go back to that at later point. Second thing I want to discuss before going to case interviews is, in general, why in product roles we have a focus towards the user and the user needs in general. While when it comes to business, we focus on operational performance, right? So, anyone has wants anything to add here? Yeah, Phil, we'll like go through it. Anyone wants to add something? चलो फिर मैं ही बता देता हूँ. uh, cool. So, let's say in product, right, the focus, as I mentioned, is on solving the customer problems. And once you solve the customer's problems, you deliver value, either through features, yeah, through convenience, right? So that is one part of it. User needs. Yep. Sonal, you want to add something? Cool. So that is the first part, right? So the product, you focus on the user needs. Now, say as the product matures, right? Now the attention is shifting to operational efficiency. That is, you need business once you scale your product. So growth stage is the second part of it. And as I discussed before, with business, the focus is going on operational performance. So why operational performance? Because it helps you reduce costs and improve process. That means you keep the business running for longer, and that means you have ensured sustainability. And let's say it's better to have long-term stability, right? And finally, everything becomes a balancing act, right? So while you focus the product part on innovation and building new features, the business part ensures it's operationally sustainable and profitable. So now let's come to the major part. I want you guys to be a bit active if possible. I think that will help us a lot with the session, and to just break the ice and all. Let's start with case interviews. The first thing I want to talk to you is about how the case interviews have stayed the same, and say the format hasn't changed in the last 3 decades or so. We still have the same type of case interviews. We still have the same type of questions asked. There's always a pattern that you can note to, and that is what you'll be using in your future. Let's start with like the different types of product cases. Anyone wants to start adding?
Like we do have some product critiques, we do have some product design, and
Correct. We have design cases. Then,
then we have some product improvements.
correct. Design and improvement always come together. Let's add this anyway. What else do we have?
We have like someone in the chat box has given root cause analysis and go to market strategy.
Correct. We have RCA, we have GTM. On top of this, we also have metrics-based cases. So this sort of covers the whole product part of things, mostly. And when it comes to consulting slash strategy, again, there are mostly 5 types of cases. The most common one you will be seeing is profitability. Then there is pricing. Then there is market entry. There is M&A, growth, and finally there are also like these recurring cases. Like so, you probably act like a founder. So there's the strategist cases as well. So these are mostly the types of cases, and these have remained same in the last 30 years. So imagine how condensed that this has become, and mostly saturated bhi ho gaya hai to some extent. Now, next what I want to cover is why does structure matter in case interviews? Anyone wants to add something? What do you think is the main reason why you need structure in a case interview or any interview in general? Like,
So that there is a clarity of thought in what we are thinking.
correct. There should be clarity of thought. You need clear expectations, right? There should be clear expectations for both the interviewer as well as the candidate. And also, it makes sure that you don't dive into tangents. But I would say that is not the main reason why you need structure. Like it is one of the reasons, top reasons I would say. But what do you think is the main reason that we need structure in our case interview?
I think structuring covers all the aspects that are there that we might miss if we just simply jump to a conclusion.
Comprehensiveness that is going to be a major factor, yeah. But still not the key reason why we started structuring the interviews. What do you think would be the major reason why we need structure in a case interview? Uh, it may be very simple also. So
Effective of communication.
communication, it's covered in the first point, right? You need to have clear expectations. So having a structure enables you to clear.
Problem solving skills.
Uh, you're going to do that anyway, right? I mean, even if you find the solution, you're going to uh, improve your skills anyway. But why does structure matter in an interview? Like, so the main thing when you need structure in an interview is because there is less time. That is the first and foremost aspect. So assume you have 25 minutes for a case interview, and you need to maximize time. And by maximizing time, I mean if you structure your case as proper as possible, it ensures that you cover everything clearly and efficiently in the time given. And that also keeps the interviewer active and also helps you, arrive to the conclusion early as possible. So if you have noticed, there's a clear pattern that you have in every case interview, right? You always take either of the three. So there is a framework called 3 C's. If you're familiar with those, can anyone tell what 3 C's is? इतना तो पता होगा, right? What are the
We have
3 C's of?
responses in chat.
Oh, okay.
We have responses in chat saying customer, company, competition.
Correct. That is correct, Tarun. So it's customer, company, and competition. So with the customer, you mean you want to understand what is the gap, right? So customer, maybe you'll have the pain points, their goals, their resources, and how to enable them. You also have parts of acquisition, adoption, uh, then engagement, retention, and revenue. So all these things come under the customer part of it. Then you also need to know how your competition is doing. So what are their strengths versus weaknesses? What are the threats versus opportunities? In general, what are they doing better? We need to maximize that. And what they are doing worse, right? Worse than us. We need to minimize that, right? And then in general, the end we have the company. Company may we mostly look at the capabilities, the company, the resources, the mission of the company, right? So and the outcome that you expect with the case, right? So there might be a business outcome and also a product outcome. So I'll give an example regarding this, right? So when you talk about business outcomes, you mean in general, right? In terms of operation efficiency of a revenue or cash flows. How do you want this to happen? Do you want to maximize your market share? Do you want to maximize your profits? Or do you just want to maximize your revenues? And when it comes to product outcomes, we look at adoption, the acquisition part of it, and also how you engage your users slash retain them. So these are what we need to cover in a very generic framework, right? But the truth is, we can't really follow frameworks in all the cases, right? You're going to start with a very basic framework. You're then going to move towards like narrow it down, right? So let's say you are taking three C's, you find that uh, the problem is with the competition, then you're going to narrow it down to the competition and look at what you can improve and what inefficiencies you can reduce, right? So you're going to narrow down to one of them and then take it from there. And once we have enough information, right, what we should do is we always look for the solutions, right? But before we look for solutions, we also need to prioritize. Why do you think we need to prioritize things in a case interview? Anyone wants to add something? Why do you think prioritizing is necessary in any case interview?
Because like in actual reality, we will have a time constraint in a company, right? We cannot do all the things at any given time. So we will have to prioritize what we will do first. There will be a time as well as the resource constraint, and then we can look at the
Correct.
other things.
Okay, so in the end, if you suggest 10 solutions, you're not going to be able to like do all of them. But if you're going to suggest one solution for the top pain point, that is going to create the most impact. So in the end, it narrows down to impact versus effort versus need. And that's going to help you to prioritize, right? The impact that solution is going to create, the effort that you need to make this happen, and the need of the solution. Need comes from the customer, the effort comes from the company, and the impact is dependent on all three. So that is how you're going to prioritize. To summarize what we just discussed now, uh, we're talking about frameworks in general, right? So there are three C's. Why do you need a very basic framework to start with, and how this is going to be helpful for you to prioritize things faster. If you're going to start with a very larger framework, let's say you're getting a very ambiguous case, right? And there's no framework that you have used before. So you're going to start with something like the three C's. Then you're going to prioritize, and then you're going to recommend solutions. So that is mostly it about structuring a case interview. Now, before we move to the base of structuring, I just want to cover the four P's as well. So the four P's come into place when the focus is mostly on the product itself. Anyone wants to say what are the four P's of marketing slash product?
It's product, price, place, and promotion.
Correct. And just to clarify one thing, right? So apart from as opposed to three C's is always used to be finding the problem, but four P's also helps you in finding the solution. So what I want to say is, if you're using a framework like four P's, right? You'll use it to find the problems itself. And say when you want to like go for a GTM strategy or something, you'll use the same aspects of things, right? You'll want to decide your price, you want to decide the place, you want to look at how you're going to incentivize things, and the solution itself, which is the product. Now that we have covered this, I just want to give you a overview of how to go with any case interview before we start with the live case. So first, clarify any ambiguity. And when I say this, I do have a specific format in mind, right? So first, we want to redefine the problem itself. So what is the problem? Is there a timeline attached to the problem? Where did this happen? This can be with respect to the business or the product in general. and the nitty-gritties of this. So, which would also include how did you define how do you define the problem, right? The metric itself. Let's say if I'm talking about increase in user count, right? Abnormal increase in user count. I want to know how do we define this. If I'm talking about drop in user base, right? How do we define this? If I'm talking about order cancellations, at what stage am I defining this? So how to define this? So the validity of the metric in general. And finally, we'll also want to give want to know, rule out things which may or may not have happened. So when we look at cases with a very particular time range, right? It's often possible that this may not have happened before also, or it can happen in the future as well. So we also want to rule out seasonality in general. So that covers the ambiguity of any case interview. Now the next thing you should do is to outline your approach and validate it. This is very important because, as we already discussed, there's a time bound. In all interviews are time bound, although you may not realize it in the very beginning. The interviewer is has always allocated a time to an interview, and you will be able to should be able to find the problems and recommend the solutions and next steps within that time frame. So it's always better that you outline your approach. Let's say if I'm taking uh, like a product design case in general, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I'll look at the customer needs, I'll find their problems. Post that, I'll look at how the company is performing with respect to the competitors and identify gaps which we can leverage to our needs. Post that, we could prioritize something, then right, have the solutions, and finally we could look at how to proceed further. So the interviewer, once you tell this, right, they are going to green light your approach, and this you can always use in any interview. So just outline your approach before you start it, and then start with a very simple framework like the three C's or four P's. And particularly if you are in a product case interview, you need to prioritize ruthlessly. So do that. And finally, when you have the solution, make sure you wrap with actionable next steps. With next steps, we could, I'm just looking at metrics in general, or it can be a proper GTM strategy as well. Mostly in final rounds of the interview, we'll be starting with a GTM strategy. So you could expect this in any case interview. Now I want you to have, like, if you won't have any questions right now, we can take those, and in say in the next 5 minutes, we could start the live case interview. And for the same, I also want a volunteer. So if anyone is willing to be the candidate for the interview, that'd be really great. Anyone has any questions before the case interview?
Yeah, I just had one question.
Yeah,
So my question was relating to the prioritization. So let's say if
correct,
we are using impact versus effort metrics. So let's say we
correct,
have two solutions, feature A and feature B, where
right.
feature A has the highest impact, but high effort as well. But let's say the feature B, which has a let's say a high impact but low effort, but not as high as the feature A, then what should we be prioritizing?
So so the first part of any case interview is the ability for you to ask questions, right? The first question you can ask in that case is, are we time bound to provide a solution, right? So recommending a solution, if that is time bound, then you're obviously going to take up the solution which has the least effort but the highest impact. But if you don't have a time limit, and if you feel that the solution that you're with the highest effort is going to provide you maximum value, right? The interview will ask you to proceed with that one only. So it's always better that you clarify the ambiguities, right? It just comes back to the first point. Are we time bound? Are we resource constrained? Right. So I think that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone has any other questions? If no one has any questions, let's proceed to the live case interview. Does anyone want to volunteer? Okay.
Okay, yeah. This is Yash and I'm Billy.
Anyone wants to volunteer for the case interview? I think Yash has left the meeting.
Hello.
Yeah.
I guess.
Cool then. Let's start the case interview. I'll present the screen. You're able to see that, right?
Yeah, the ceiling is visible.
Cool then.
Maybe
So,
then switch.
yep. Uh, cool then. So the problem statement that we have is the percentage of abandoned orders on Amazon increased by 25% in December 2022. Okay. So, and you have been assigned to find out why this has happened and suggest possible solutions. How do you want to proceed towards this? Yes.
You see, the question looks like a pura artsy eka. So I'll proceed with some preliminary questions and then maybe we can come up with approach.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So like I'd start with some preliminary questions.
Yeah.
So like was this problem restricted to some parts of India or India, or do we need to consider the global market at the same?
For this case, you can assume that this is particular to the Indian market.
Okay. Any particular region in India, some metro cities or
No, this is applicable for all regions.
okay. Okay, so all of India. Okay, so like at the same time, were there any competitors facing the same issue?
No, this issue, uh, say some of the competitors had faced this, but since this is an internal issue that we had discovered at Amazon, we don't have any way to verify that.
So like it was more of Amazon's internal issue.
Amazon doesn't know if this has happened with other competitors, but
Okay,
they have.
okay. No, we're not here with this. Just like the orders were like being cancelled on app, or they were like being cancelled more on website part or app part.
So, want to clarify one thing, right? The orders were not cancelled as such; it's just abandoned. So they were left in the cart, but
Okay,
not checked out. So these are
okay.
left out orders in the cart.
This is still
And
like were there.
regarding app and website, this is common for all. Like this is observed across both apps and website.
Okay. So, like, I've got some insights here. This problem is restricted to Indian, and we don't have any information if this is a pan competitive problem or very specific to us, and we don't have an idea if it's for website or okay. So, like, uh, okay. So, was there a decline in like customers visiting the website, or it was just the orders were being abandoned there?
The orders were being abandoned. The customers had increased throughout the time.
Oh, okay, okay. And to add on, like since Amazon has many schemes during like festival times, and December is a time where we do have festivities. So was there any issue like you didn't Amazon didn't come up with lucrative offers or such?
There was no sale in December 2022.
Okay,
So you can avoid seasonality in general, right? So this was very particular towards this time period.
okay. So like it was very restricted to year 2022.
Yeah.
Okay, so like these are all the like preliminary questions I wanted to ask. I'll
Before you
I want
start
to
the
like
approach, I
structure.
want others in the interview to like ask more questions. Do you think there could be other questions that could have been asked? So if you have any other questions to ask, Yash, like you can ask. Yeah, if someone else want to add something as a question to this, let's do that, right? So let's cover this exhaustively and then move to the next stage.
Okay, sure, sure, sure.
Okay. Is there did they bring any change in the UI? Let's come to that at the later point, right? So again, the first thing is we should be structuring the interview first. So if you think that with respect to what we have stated, right? So increase in order abandonments during December 2022. So that is the question. So do you think there could be questions which uh, average order value of abandoned order? Let's say it's not relevant to the case. No, there are no particular customer demographic abandoning the orders. We found that the percentage of orders abandoned in the cart has simply increased. No, this was not limited to any segment of orders. Let's come to that question at later point, right? So let's restrict ourselves to questions that can be linked to the problem statement that is given. So in particular, right? If so, funny thing is that this was a case interview I had with the company, right? So there could be other questions which can be asked. So one is that did this happen again? Again, yeah, before the answer would be no. And also that did we also see? So we just mentioned abandoned orders, right? How do we define this metric? That's some question
Yeah.
that you should be asking.
Okay, like what do you exactly mean by abandoning of orders? To clarify more
Correct.
on the word.
Yeah. So abandoned orders, matlab, any order that is left in the cart for more than 12 hours. That is how we define an abandoned order. So abandoned order doesn't necessarily mean that these orders, were left abandoned for more than 12 hours. It doesn't mean these orders were not checked out at a later point. Right. So these are questions you can clarify at the early stage, right?
Okay.
Right. So what was the trend before and after December? There's no particular trend. We just found that towards the end of December, right, we found that the percentage of abandoned orders had increased, and this continued a bit till the starting of January next year. And regarding the second question that Harshit had added, no, the average cart value hasn't changed. No. Or do you think we could add more questions to this problem statement before we redefine this? More questions, guys. I'll also do one thing, right? Parallel, let's start a timer. So we'll also have an idea about how a ideal case interview, lasts, right? Anyone wants to add other questions? So I also asked a separate question during this interview. So I particularly asked, did we find any change in the average revenue per user during the time period? So the answer to the question at that time was there was a 5% decrease in ARPU. Okay. Now I want you just to redefine the problem statement with the information that we have, and post that you could probably come up with a approach as to how to solve this.
Could you please clarify what is ARPU that you have mentioned?
Yeah, so ARPU is average revenue per user. And
Okay.
since we have defined it for the month of December 22, it's the average revenue per user in the month of December 2022. For that I mean we had a 5% decrease in ARPU for that month. So one insight that you will get from the statement is that although we had percentage of abandoned orders increased, we also noted that the orders added right in the cart, they had the same value as before. The revenue has still decreased by 5%. So what do you think this suggests towards?
See, this suggests that there is some problem after we add the things that you want to buy in the cart. Like there is some problem post the.
Not necessarily, right? So is it only states that the users were not checking out uh, within 12 hours after they added the products. It doesn't state that there was any problem. That is one thing to note.
Okay.
Right. And once we proceed with the case interview, we'll relook this problem again, right? Why does it not
Okay.
suggest that the users had any issues,
Okay.
right? But in case does anyone want to redefine this problem statement now with the information that we have had? Yes, if you can start.
Okay, so like initially the problem is restricted to the Indian market. To we do have another question in the chat.
Uh, there are bug complaints from the customer side. We'll get to that, right? Let's define the approach and then let's get to that. It's better that way. People tend to buy more during Republic Day sale. Not necessarily, right? I mean, of course they'll buy more during the sale, but the period in concern is that of December. So the Republic Day sale won't happen during December, right? Are people not returning to the app often enough? Not relevant to this case, Janvi. Uh, yes, you can redefine the problem statement if possible.
Okay, so like the problem is restricted to the Indian market, and
Correct.
it was more sort of likely this is not a seasonal problem. It happened at a particular time in a particular year, and
Correct.
and we saw and there was a reduced percent of sale in that month that Amazon usually expects. And the main problem was that the people were putting up their goods that they wanted to buy in their cart, but they were not actually checking out their cart, and that was there for more than 12 hours.
Good. A better way to just state this, right? So in order to just keep this in mind, right? This is one way of doing it. A better way of doing this would be ki, we found that the percentage abandonment defined by orders left in the cart for more than 12 hours has increased by 25% during December 22. Not specific to any app or website, and much particular to the time period. Amazon has not been able to ascertain if this is particular to Amazon, or has the same been applied to any other competitors as well.
Okay.
And that there's no seasonality observed in this particular problem, and I think that covers everything. Yep. The one more thing, right? We also talked about ARPU. So, and although we had percentage of abandoned orders increased by 25%, the average revenue per user has decreased only by 5%, suggesting further investigation. So this is like how you should be able to define a problem statement, right?
Okay.
So, cool. Now, how do you want to proceed forward with this, Yash?
Okay, so given the redefined problem, I'd like to look after the exterior problems and then the interior problems, as in the user journey through the app. And
Okay.
I'll consider two major factors, like the
Yeah.
exterior factors that have had an impact on this, or the internal factors that might be some glitch in the app, or some user experience that is hindering Amazon orders.
Got it. Anything else that you'd want to cover with your approach? So, in general, right, in any root cause analysis case interview, so what usually happens is you first look at the internal or external reasons that could have possibly happened, and once this is ruled out, we often go to the user flow. We want to see if there is any disruption in the normal user journey, right? And oftentimes the interviewer will tell you to directly move to the user journey and disregard any other internal or external reasons for the time being. Now, just for this, for the purview of this case interview, let's rule out all the internal and external reasons first. And Yash, I want you to start with the internal reasons first.
Okay, so for considering the internal factors, I'd like to make a user journey like when I open the app and search
Let's
for the
come to the
product.
user journey later, right? Let's just rule out the internal factors first, and then come to the user journey. So, what I mean is, we should rule out the factors which are particular to the company and not the product. So, this is
Okay,
ruling
so
the business side of things.
okay, okay, so like internally, initially, I'd like to ask, has there been some company issue, or have the company laid off some of the employees or so, or is it
No,
relevant to
there are no restructuring. So, there are no organizational changes.
the organizational changes? Okay,
Yeah,
so
there are no organizational changes.
considering the competitions or the new online stores that have come, so have we done any changes to our search algorithms, or such stuff to actually counter the new competitors in the market?
Uh, no feature changes.
No feature changes.
No.
Okay. So okay, so have there been any government regulations that have had an impact on the how the Amazon is working in India? Some
That would be
regulations.
an external factor, but let's come to that later, right?
Okay.
Anything that you want to cover in internal reasons?
Okay, I'll take a minute and then I'll come up with the factors that I can think of. No
Okay.
organizational change, no feature changes.
We could also ask for marketing changes. So let's say if you're running a campaign before December, right? This would
Okay.
have affected how products are abandoned in the cart. So
Okay.
want to confirm that there are no marketing activities, through this time period. So we can rule that out as well. Anything else that you want to add?
No marketing activities or feature fees. No, these are the major three factors that I put that I can think of as of now.
Anything else that anyone else wants to add? Just I want to know key. So funny thing is, for me also, right? I also covered these three only. But going back at this later, if the case would have proceeded to another direction, I feel that there are other things which I could have added. Anyone? There are 40 in this meeting, right? Does anyone want to add anything? Change in how we calculate metrics. No, Harshit, we haven't changed how we calculate the metric. So that is actually a good question that you often ask before we proceed with the approach. We actually say, ki, have we changed how we define the metric? So no, we have not changed how we define the metrics.
So through the algorithm, did we try to change the sentiment that Amazon actually targets? Like, did we?
This is not related to any feature, right? So we already said there are no feature changes. Now that would include external features that the users are been facing, and also the internal algorithms
Okay.
as well. So there are no changes in the algorithms. Anyone wants to add any other any other things here? So one thing which comes on the top of my mind is has there been any sure, anything that has felt a lag than competitors in the value chain as particularly service? Those are external factors, right? So now you're just discussing internal factors. The competitor, when we talk about competitors, that is external, right? So let's come to that later. We'll discuss this. So one thing I want to
So
add
it's
is,
discussing in
yeah,
relevant, it's discussing some changes in the value chain relevant.
uh, it depends, right? So what you want to ask, like, so it depends on that.
Like,
Because
have
value
there
chain
been
itself
any
is pretty broad.
changes? So have there been any changes in the value chain that Amazon usually follows?
With respect to the external value chain, there may or may not have been changes. I want you to look at that. If you want to look at the value chain in general, right? I would want you to list out specific reasons that you may feel might cause this problem.
So was there a difference or the change in the availability that we see that the product that we have added on a cart? Do we had a very often notification of the product is not available or some stuff like that?
Uh, so the overall products that has been listed on the app that has remained the same. No, we
Okay.
have not added any other category. We haven't onboarded or deboarded any sellers. No, we can disregard all these things. I think that covers most of the value chain, right? So uh let's probably move to external reasons.
Okay.
Before that, I will add these things we have discussed right now. So there are no changes in the value chain. So no Anything else that you want to add with internal? If not, we can proceed to the external causes which may have caused this.
No, nothing as of now, I guess. These four factors are sufficient for considering the internal scenario of the company, I guess, as of now.
Cool. If you feel so, let's move to the external causes then. What do you want to start with, right? Like, so before we start, I'll just give an overview of how we usually proceed with external causes. Uh, if we are looking at external causes, you might be familiar with the framework called PESTEL, right?
Yes.
PESTEL often defines external reasons. So we can probably like start with those and like dive deep.
Okay, so like I'll start with some political factors.
Okay.
So like, could there have been any election scenario or some policy scenario or the sentimental scenario with public parties that would have affected
No,
the
there
problem
have not been any socio-political changes. You can ignore those.
of the political and then economic? Like, did we have any changes or like big changes in the current economy, or there have been some change in the per capita income also that we should consider for this case?
No, there are no economic changes.
No economic changes.
No.
And socially, like, has there been a shift in people's sentiment of how they considered Amazon earlier, or how they're considering Amazon now, given many new companies that have emerged lately, like Myntra and Ajio and all?
Amazon's market share has remained the same.
Okay, Amazon's market share has remained the same. So, like, socially, Amazon is still being like is one of the top online stores for people of India as of now. That is not a
Correct.
problem.
One thing I want to emphasize is right. Whenever I define market share, I want you to ask how did I define market share? Have I defined in terms of revenue, or have I defined it in terms of percentage of users? This is something I want everyone to just notice, right? Market share is one
Okay.
of the factors which we can define either ways, right? So in this particular case, what I want to share is that the revenue by revenue, Amazon's market share has remained the same. Okay. You can
Market share.
proceed.
Okay, so like, did we come up with some technological changes? As in, did we change some algorithms or stuff?
They are not external, right? So
Or
let's.
there have been some like external technological boundedness that the government or some organization have had on us?
There were a couple external changes. Let's
Okay.
look at that. Once we have ruled out any other external reasons. So I want you to. So there are technological changes.
Yeah.
These are there. So we will consider this later. Do you think there are any other external
No,
reasons?
like, I cannot think of any environmental factors that could have an effect on this. And legal factors, are there any legal factors like how the company works in India or some legal changes that the government has
There is
recently
no
or that?
particular change that Amazon has been subject to. So if there were changes, everyone would have been subject
Okay,
to
so
those. There
you
were
also
no.
like that rules out the legal aspects in this. Okay, so like we'll focus on a technological aspect.
Yeah.
So, like, were there any specific, like, as in policies or technological policies that some government or the national banks came up with that Amazon had to follow specifically?
There were almost like a lot of new regulations that happened in this year, right?
Okay.
There were regulations with respect to foreign development investment. There were regulations with respect to financial security. There were cyber security changes that were specified by the government. What I want you to do is list the user flow, right? And we can find, at what position during the user flow that this change has happened, and then we can come back to the technological change what may have caused this.
Okay. So like I'll make a user flow or user journey when I open
Sure.
the app, and then we will follow this. Okay, so
Yeah.
if I open the app, so there are some product displays. So have there been some changes how the home page looks for a user? Have there been some changes on the opening page?
No, we already said that there were no feature changes. That would mean that there are no design changes as well.
Okay, so like we are following the same search algorithms that we had earlier, and
So there's no change in the design flow. The user is still subject to the same home screen.
okay. So then it's like, shall I move to the part where a customer searches for a product and then adds that to his or her cart? If there are no
Sure.
design changes or no changes, then I can
What
proceed to
do you
that.
think? What do you think comes after? So what? Just want you to like just state out the user flow how that happens, right? Then let's go to that.
Okay,
There.
so like if I initially search for a product, then
Yeah.
I actually choose a product, and then I see if there are any like offers or there are some coupon codes that are available. Since December is a festive season, so I guess companies generally have some promo codes or such stuff or discount stuff during that time. So
Yeah.
like, was there a decrease in the discount or the coupon code that we are earlier giving to the customers?
Yeah.
So like, was there a decrease in the discount or some stuff like
No,
that?
the price, the average order value, as I discussed before, that has remained the same, right? That's still the same.
Okay, like general like user activity is that when we find a product of our desire, then we usually look for the delivery. That is it delivering in a restricted time, or the delivery is delayed, or the delivery is being priced. So was there some delivery pattern
Uh,
changes?
no, in fact, we actually increased our pin code coverage during the time period.
Okay, so delivery was certainly not an issue.
No,
Okay, so after delivery, we like add the product to the cart, and then we usually move to the payments and all.
right.
Okay, so like, were there any, since like UPI is being used very frequently nowadays, so were there any like glitches in the UPI interface that we had during 2022? At the top of the mind, I
Uh,
can think of glitches
no,
initially
there is
UPI
no
had.
glitch. There is no glitch in UPI particularly.
Okay. Okay, so like, then moving on to other payment options, then we have cash on delivery, and then we have card system. Like usually people have their card and cash on delivery saved on the app.
Correct.
So were there any changes in the card patterns or cash on delivery patterns during
We
December
found
20?
that the COD orders increased by 5%.
Okay, so there was,
Uh, let's make it 10% actually.
okay. So was it more like the sentiment that people have ki COD will be more better, will like it will prevent any technical glitches also that we usually have during an online transaction? Is it so, or there is some other reason accounting for this increased COD orders?
No, the customer sentiment towards COD orders is still the same. It's just that we found that people converted their online orders to COD orders. So people who used to purchase online before had some of their orders changed to COD.
So like in the year 2022, I guess most of the users use debit cards as a payment. So were
Correct.
there any changes, technological changes in the debit card system or the way debit cards work in a online shop interface?
Okay. Since you have mentioned debit cards in general, right? There was a system implemented by RBI which involved tokenization. Okay.
Okay.
So what this meant is every card that users have added that had to be tokenized. I mean, they had to re-verify the details again and save the card. So for users who did not do this in November, who did not make an order in November. That meant their details were removed from Amazon, and they had to add their card details again.
Okay, so like
Do you
what I
think?
can think of it is there
Yeah,
was a friction when the users were trying to use the card. Like when the card is saved, we only have to enter the CVV and OTP, but like we had to enter all the card details and name and all. So that was a
correct.
friction users were facing. Is
Yes,
it
that
like
is
impacted?
yeah, that seems to have caused a lot of abandonment, and some people converting their orders to COD.
Okay, so like card
Uh,
is
yeah,
card is one of the preferred means of payment that the unions generally follow. So I guess that is one of the friction that might have affected this increased number of abandoned orders.
yeah. Now, since you have found the root cause, right, do you want to
Uh,
suggest some possible solutions as to how to
okay. Ask you, like, were there any regulations or articles or some notifications from Amazon side? There is a change in the RBI tokenization policy. So you'll have to
yes, we
like,
had actually informed all the Amazon users, since June of that year. But it seems that a lot of users did not complete the documentation process even till December.
okay. So like that clearly states across. So like moving on to the solutions, like
Yeah.
do you like Amazon like sees this as a lack of knowledge, or there is some stuff that we would like to implement on the app so that this process is smoothened out?
What do you think could be a better option? Like, want you to come up with solutions like at this point.
Okay, see, like even if there is a like friction in like adding the details on the cards, maybe like we can promote more of this UPI stuff because that too works directly with the bank accounts. So UPI or cards more or less have the same effect on the bank account. So if we like can directly have a UPI feature on the page where the product is displayed, do you think will that be something that will
That would be a good idea. But do you think there could be other solutions implemented? Let's say if you were investigating this issue December of 2022,
okay?
what do you think could have been done, in order to fix this issue?
Like since like we could have asked users like separately like for once enter their card details so that that would be saved in the backend,
Yeah.
like
Uh,
notification on the home screen that pops up so that you're compelled to actually like complete the because
Correct.
user sentiments
That is
you
something we
open the
can
app and when you
do.
accept the order are very different.
Correct. Correct. So we can do that. That is a good idea. I just want to highlight one thing I had suggested during the actual case interview. So what I mentioned was ki we could have so when they tried to exit the app, right, we could have just showed a notification to switch the payment method at that point itself, or change their order to cash on delivery. That way we would have reduced this issue.
Okay, like on the card page we could have had added an added option of
Yeah. So
changing
when
the
people want to exit the cart, right, exit the checkout page,
okay,
they
okay.
could have been given a pop-up, right? So that was something I had suggested. Does anyone else want to add any other solutions to this? All open to that. Yeah, just give some discount on card payments. True, we can do that. Yeah. Any other solutions? I'll also stop sharing my screen. I think there aren't any other solutions that someone wants to add. So, if you guys have any questions, we have approximately 5 to 6 minutes. So, we could take up questions if you have anything regarding like approaching case interviews, how to structure your case interviews. And to summarize what we discussed in this live case interview, right? First thing, just a second. Am I audible? Yes. Just confirm once.
Yes, you're audible.
Cool. So just one thing I want to emphasize is, first, when we have any case interview, right, try to ask as many questions as possible with respect to the problem statement. So one thing is we shouldn't ask questions that is not related to anything defined with the problem statement, because those things may come with external or internal factors at later point of time. So ask and clarify all your ambiguities. Once you have that done, you could redefine the problem statement, and once you redefine it, suggest an outline towards how you would approach that case interview. Once that is done, it's all a matter of going through each bucket and narrowing down top to bottom. And once we have found the root cause, always make sure that you suggest a solution as to how to fix this, right? So that always gives you brownie points, even if the interviewer is not like asking you to give solutions. Just make sure that you always like end it with a nice touch up of how we could solve the problem. That always give an edge over other candidates. If someone is going for ST Tech as their first choice, and what should be their preparation strategy? So one thing I have noticed, at least in my case, is that I used to work on ML profiles initially, and I switched to product sometime during my sophomore year, right? तो non-tech shift हो गया पर one thing I noticed is कि the knowledge that you have in SD or tech that always gives you an edge when you prepare a non-tech interview. So something that you guys can look towards too. And the only difference between SD and non-tech interview is that in SD it's always about finding the solution, but in non-tech interview it's always about finding the right problem, addressing the problem, and evaluating how to solve this and suggesting the next steps. So that is the only difference. And regarding how to prepare for non-tech interviews, it's practice, practice, and practice. So do as many mock interviews as you can, and you should be good to go. Anyone that wants to add anything else, ask anything else, or we could wrap the session in 2 minutes. Yeah, I haven't done MBA, but always IIMs have a 20% weightage for work experience, right? So yeah, I mean it's always good to get work experience first. And unless you're like want to like do a MBA right after your graduation, you would need a higher percentile score. Anyone wants to ask anything else?
If we have any questions from the audience, we can take up. Otherwise, we are good to conclude the session.
Cool then.
Any more questions from the audience?
I think you can conclude session 2.
Okay. Thank you so much for an insightful session on structuring and cracking cases. Your expertise has provided us with invaluable strategies and insights, and we really thank you for taking out time for this wonderful session.
Thank you, Purvi, and